Sigmund Freud's story. The interpretation of dreams is one of his most famous works. He introduced the idea that dreams are the royal road to the unconscious. In this book, Freud proposed that dreams are not meaningless but serve as a form of wish fulfillment. He argued that dreams provide insight into unconscious desires, fears, and unresolved conflicts. The book introduces the concepts of manifest content, which is the actual content of the dream, and latent content, the hidden psychological meaning of the dream. In this work, Freud explored the role of sexuality in human development, arguing that sexual energy, or libido, is central to personality development. He introduced the stages of psychosexual development: oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital stages, which he believed all children go through. Freud also famously introduced the concept of the Oedipus complex during the phallic stage, where a child subconsciously desires the opposite sex parent and feels rivalry toward the same-sex parent. In this work, Freud expanded on his earlier ideas by introducing the concept of the death drive, also known as thanatos, alongside the life drive, eros. He suggested that while the pleasure principle governs much of human behavior, there is also a destructive force that seeks to return to an inorganic state, resulting in aggression, repetition, and self-destructive behaviors. This was a shift from Freud's earlier emphasis on sexuality, incorporating a more complex view of human motivation. In The Ego and the Id, Freud introduces his model of the mind, which he divides into three components: the ID, the ego, and the superego. The ID is the primal unconscious part of the psyche that seeks immediate gratification of basic desires following the pleasure principle. The ego is the conscious, rational part that deals with reality and mediates between the demands of the ID and the constraints of reality. The superego is the moral conscience, influenced by societal and parental values, which strives for perfection. Freud's model of the psyche was revolutionary in understanding how conflicting forces in the mind shape behavior and personality. In Civilization and Its Discontents, Freud examines the tension between the individual and society, arguing that civilization is built on the suppression of human instincts. He explores how the demands of civilization, such as social norms, laws, and morality, restrict individual desires and lead to inner conflict and unhappiness. Freud suggests that the pursuit of happiness is hindered by the need to conform to social structures, and this repression leads to neuroses and dissatisfaction. In The Future of an Illusion, Freud said it is an illusion created to provide comfort in the face of life's uncertainties and suffering. He suggests that religion is a form of wish fulfillment, with people projecting their desires for safety and protection onto a higher power. Freud argues that as science and reason advance, religion will be increasingly seen as an outdated, irrational belief system. Freud's Totem and Taboo explores the origins of societal norms and taboos, drawing connections between primitive cultures and modern psychology. He theorizes that totemism, a form of symbolic representation of a tribe's collective identity, and taboos, prohibited behaviors, arise from unconscious processes, particularly related to guilt, aggression, and the desire for power. Freud uses the Oedipus complex to suggest that early human societies might have formed through the dynamics of power struggles within family groups, leading to the development of social structures. These lectures were Freud's attempt to present psychoanalytic theory in a more accessible way to a broader audience. They cover the basics of psychoanalysis, including the unconscious mind, repression, and the theory of neuroses. Freud discusses the role of free association, dream interpretation, and transference in psychoanalysis, which remain central therapeutic techniques in the practice today. Freud's work revolutionized how we think about the unconscious mind personality development and the role of internal conflict in shaping behavior. His ideas continue to influence not only psychology but also other disciplines like literature, art, and cultural studies. However, many of his theories have been subject to debate and revision with modern psychology, often critiquing Freud's deterministic and sexually focused approach.